a new chapter for policing in Albuquerque.
You will distinguish yourselves in
An APD overhaul. The Department of Justice and the city today announced sweeping changes to fix APD.
We have team coverage with in-depth looks at the plans, what it will cost the city, and reaction from the families who pushed for these changes. We begin with News 13's Kayla Ayers at APD headquarters. She was at today's news conference and has been poring over the lengthy report. Kayla?
The consent decree, a court-enforceable agreement, is more than 100 pages long. It details new guidelines on how to avoid using force and disbands a controversial unit.
We are here today to announce a landmark settlement agreement between the Justice Department and the City of Albuquerque that resolves our findings on the use of excessive force.
The Fed's mayor and police chief stood together to announce a court-enforceable agreement that means sweeping changes for the Albuquerque Police Department.
We all agree that we have much more work to do, both in the department and with our community.
The 106-page settlement agreement first delves into use of force, how APD must ensure its policies are constitutional.
The agreement basically produces standard procedures, accountability measures for when standard procedures aren't met, and it attempts to really embody best practices based on everything that we have been learning about the use of these instruments.
It also calls to use other agencies to investigate police shootings for greater objectivity. The agreement addresses issues within special units. It dismantles the repeat offender project within the first 90 days and reins in special units like the SWAT team. It's the first time a settlement agreement with the DOJ has required officers wear body cameras and record use of force encounters. APD has to overhaul its hiring process to attract a diverse group and hire qualified staff. But in the agreement, the city makes it clear this is not an admission its officers did anything unconstitutional or illegal.
We had to reserve our rights to not agree with everything. But we simply said the findings letter is out. We all agree that we want to put additional reforms into place. We want to move forward.
Now, the settlement agreement also calls for a civilian police oversight agency that reviews and recommends changes to department policy and remains independent from APD and the city. The city council already passed a bill establishing an agency like that. Back to you.
Okay, Kayla, the city has to have these reforms in place in at least 4 years. Next, the city and feds will work together to pick an independent monitor, the person who will track the city's progress. The monitor will tell the court if the department is following the reform guidelines. If it isn't, the city could be penalized, and it'll probably mean fines. The police chief seems optimistic.
This is a forward-looking agreement that gives the reform process much momentum to achieve what our goals are, and that's effective constitutional policing.
So how much is all of this going to cost? The city is already estimating the DOJ's reforms will cost between $4 and $6 million a year for at least the next 5 to 6 years. City councilors are already trying to figure out how you are going to pay for it. We asked Mayor R.J. Berry today where he thinks the money will come from. He said he believes it can be found without taking money from other places. But City Council President Ken Sanchez says they may need to find a way to make more money.
And one of the things that I think we also need to look at, we may have to look at a gross receipts tax increase to get the revenues that are necessary.
Here's a breakdown of what the money will go to in reforming APD. The $4 to $6 million a year will include $1 million to monitor the department. The rest will go into overtime costs for training officers.